The NAACP champions for a bill to bring dignity to incarcerated women, and we discuss keeping the faith even in the hospital. It's all here on the next Latino Motion. Join us.
Choose to get lost in the woods to gain experience in forest management.
Choose to travel through time to understand the past.
Choose to soar to pursue a career in dance.
Stockton University offers 50 high-quality academic programs, small class sizes, and affordable tuition. Choose to match your interests and talents at one of New Jersey's nationally ranked universities.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation, and Stockton University. This edition of Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is brought to you by the HD Studios at the campus of Stockton University. Funding for Latino Motion is provided by AtlantiCare, a member of Geisinger, Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world, and South Jersey Gas.
Health disparities in the Hispanic community is a major concern for us here at Latino Motion and ALMA, an AtlantiCare Employee Resource Group. That is why we are partnering to present this health segment. Tu salud es importante para nosotros.
Welcome to Latino Motion, a weekly interview show highlighting issues impacting New Jersey's Latino community while advancing understanding of Latino cultural heritage and contributions to our society. And here is your host, Bert Lopez.
Buenos dias and welcome to Latino Motion. The number of incarcerated women has increased by 750% over the last 40 years, often facing unjust and unequal treatment. Joining me is Loretta Winters, president of the Gloucester County NAACP, to tell us what is being done.
Hi, thank you.
Welcome to Latino Motion.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me here tonight. It's always good to be here.
So this is a big problem that you're dealing with right now, the flight of women who are incarcerated. I understand you have some information on something that's being done here in New Jersey.
Right now, we're working on the Dignity for Incarcerated Women Act, and it's bringing dignity back to the family, back to the head of the household, which 9 out of 10 is going to be the woman. A lot of times the women, no matter what the reason why they're incarcerated, they were the head of household. Now their children are in foster care. When children come to visit their parents, a lot of times they're not at prisons that are local, so it makes difficulty trying to visit them.
And there's certainly a bigger impact within women of color. And just to read off some of the numbers, in 2017, African American women, 92 out of 100,000 were in prison, compared to 67 Latina women and 49 white. So right. There's certainly a big disparity in terms of the number of women of color in prisons.
Absolutely. And, you know, we're here, and we're here to concentrate on women of color, but it's all women. We're here to fight for all women that are in there. It's the disparity that it's always people of color, whether they're black and brown, seem to suffer a little bit more on societies and the laws that societies put down, and then other women aren't suffering as much when they face the judge, but at the same token, they're still there in jail. At the same time, they still have families. And when the children come to visit them, they're not even allowed to touch them. You know, we want visitation rights where the parents can be able to touch and hug and kiss their children without thinking that they're passing on contraband between each other. You know, this is part of the rehabilitation to go out, whether they're in there for 2 years, 12 years, or 20 years. You know, that bonding, that family bonding must be maintained. That's helping the rehabilitation of that family, because trust me, when someone is sentenced, it's not just that person. The whole family has been sentenced. It affects the whole family. It affects society.
And of course, women are different than men. Yes. And prisons basically house men. Yeah. So what are some of the differences in terms of treatment?
Well, prisons were basically designed for men. So when you talk about imprisonment, the facilities, everything is designed for men. Now you have a larger amount of women going into the prison system. Women have issues and challenges and things that men don't have. They need sanitary products. They need hair products. They need a lot more things than men do just to maintain their physical body and just their regular things that come naturally. In prison, a lot of times there's rape going on just by the prison guards. I believe in the past, I think there was a study done, and there's been at least a half dozen, if not more, COs, correctional officers, who were arrested for physical and sexual abuse of women in prison that you normally don't see in the men's prison. It's a lot more rampant in the women's prison. You have, and I have to say, Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker here in the state of New Jersey, this is one of his babies. And I have to give a shout out to Senator Cory Booker for even bringing this to the table and bringing it to the federal level, that he's taking it down to Washington, D.C.
This is currently a bill in the state of New Jersey.
And also on the federal level.
The federal level.
On the federal level. And it's called the Dignity for Incarcerated Women Act. And there's things like, providing greater opportunities for visitation, and sometimes, if need be, overnight. Some women are going into prison who are pregnant. Then that child is separated from the parent. Give that time for that parent to bond with the child and have regular visits where she can hold them and even, naturally breastfeed him, which is something that's natural, that needs to be done. Again, this separation of families isn't only at the border, it's in our prison system.
Okay. Let's just talk about one of the things you mentioned. For women, it's different than men because they need certain products, sanitary products, et cetera, and often they're forced to pay for those. Versus
absolutely.
that, obviously men don't need those, but so that is a greater burden on women.
It's a greater burden on a woman now, because sometimes women in prison, they have to take a choice between having a few dollars, whether they make a phone call home to their family or try to put it on the books for their family, or do they buy sanitary products? Do they buy things like lotion or Vaseline? And these products should be supplied to them free of charge. They shouldn't have to pay for them.
Yeah, we want to talk a little bit more about the bill and some of the actions that the NAACP is taking to support women. We want to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. We continue to discuss the efforts to close the disparity in treatment of women in prisons with Loretta Winters, president of the Gloucester County NAACP. Loretta, we were just talking about a bill in New Jersey, Bill A3979, which passed the Assembly. It's now going to the Senate, and this is dignity for incarcerated women. Tell me what you hope to accomplish with this bill.
What I hope to accomplish is that, as I said earlier, we've worked so much and so hard on the cash bail system and things once someone leaves the prison or to stop them from entering prison. But while they're in prison, we need to do that reform right inside. And there's women in the prison that need so much. A lot of them are suffering from PTSD. 86%, I believe, percent of the women in jail report have been victim of sexual assault prior to going in. Another 77% are victims of relationship assault, domestic violence. And a lot of them, they need help mental health while they're in prison, to help them maneuver before they leave. And again, I would say the main thing that we're looking for is just the disparity between the women, getting them help while they're in there, getting them little things.
And you mentioned
soap,
some of those, right? That some of the healthcare
feminine
needs,
products, and things like that. Having them have that interaction with their family, which is so important. I mean, it breaks my heart when I see women who have their children and they can't even hold them or touch them, and they're only right there in front of them. Something like that is just outright torture. And how do you sit back and not allow that to happen? Just a hug.
And right there with the theme of the bill, dignity,
Yes.
there's also lack of privacy. Male officers are able to walk in while women are showering, and this bill helps to curb some of that to protect women as well.
Protect them while they're in jail. There's women in jail get pregnant. How does that happen? Mm-hmm. So something's going on that needs to be, whether they're, the men are putting pressure on the women to give up their sexuality to them for maybe little things like a extra portion of food and things like that. I'm not saying that for it to be exact, but I mean, let your imagination go with you of what's going on.
And some common decency things that you mentioned earlier. There is a limit at how many children could come visit their mother while in jail, and that this bill helps to change that as well.
To take that limitation off, because if a family can get up there one weekend, they can't get up every weekend, and if they're only limited to 2 or 3, and they have 4 kids, that means it's 2 this weekend, 2 next weekend. That puts a burden on the family outside.
So you're championing the bill, and obviously you're also doing some fact-finding as well. You're going to be visiting some prisons. Tell me about that.
We'll be visiting prisons. Our first prison that we'll be visiting in 2020 will be the Cumberland County Jail, which is the warden down there, Richard Smith. He's working with us. Matter of fact, Richard Smith is the president of the state NAACP. Yes, he is. Yeah. And he supports this. He's working with us with this program, and we'll be visiting, we're going to try to visit all the women's facilities throughout the state of New Jersey, gathering information, seeing what we can do to help. We're going to be asking, in the meantime, before it goes through, because it will take some time, to see if we can get donations to help, if the prisons will allow it, to help the women with some of their needs that they have, the same way that we gather things to send overseas to our men who are fighting for us.
And I know you're doing a lot of work out in the community to benefit women and to certainly bring dignity to them in their lives.
Absolutely. I do a women's conference each year, and it's called Heels in the Battlefields. And absolutely, we got our heels on the battlefields on this one, and we're going to keep going until we win it.
I wish you a lot of success. This is a great job, and it looks like it's going to pass here in New Jersey.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back with more Latino Motion. Welcome back to Latino Motion. There's no question that one's faith helps in the healing process. To tell us more about the role of pastoral care is Reverend Julian Henry. She is the manager of pastoral care at AtlantiCare. Reverend, welcome to Latino Motion.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Mr. Lopez. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm going to ask you the very first question. What is pastoral care?
Oh, good question. Pastoral care is an opportunity that we have to provide spiritual care to our patients.
And I know that this time of year, around the holidays, spirituality is very important. And unfortunately, some people end up in the hospital. What are you doing to help them connect with their faith?
Well, we visit with our patients at all times, and we provide specific care for patients who practice spirituality. We assess patients when they come into the hospital for spiritual practices and provide faith and spiritual specific care. But during the holidays, things go to another level because patients who practice a faith that also has holidays, they may need an additional level of care.
What are some of the things that you do while patients are in the hospital to assure that they stay connected to their faith?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Well, we visit with patients, and if they have a specific need, oftentimes they or their family members will let us know. If we as chaplains can't provide the specific services, then we may either contact their faith community and bring in their own clergy or faith group, or we'll make another referral to community clergy ourselves.
That's something that maybe not everyone's aware, that when you're in the hospital, that there are chaplains in many of the hospitals that provide that guidance and care. And sometimes you also have to look after the family as well, correct?
Absolutely.
Because they may be going through issues as well, particularly with a loved one that may be in the hospital.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the things we really keep in mind in my discipline, that we are not alone. We are individuals, but we're connected to our family system and then to the larger community. And if we practice a faith is always a matter of community as well. So one individual touches so many systems. Chaplains, in providing care, we have to touch those other systems as well.
And of course, we live in a very diverse society. Not everyone's a Christian, not everyone celebrates Christmas. So you have other religions and other faiths.
The ministry of a chaplain is a ministry of meeting people where they are and walking with them. That's one of the things I love about being a chaplain. I, as a chaplain, need to have one foot firmly grounded in what I believe. So for me, that's being a Christian. I know who I am and what it is I believe in. But my other foot, as a chaplain, I guess I stretch. My other foot is grounded in a walk with others. So,
do you have other partners that help you from other faiths?
Yeah, I'm the lead chaplain at AtlantiCare. So I get to manage a group of chaplains. I have a full-time chaplain at my other campus. And then I have a per diem chaplain and then a host of volunteer chaplains. So, and many of them come from different strains of different faiths, but then we also pull from community clergy as well. So we are, and we also have some volunteers who are full-time staff at AtlantiCare. So we are very blessed.
And I know during this time of year where faith is so important for many, and I know within the Latino community, faith is very, very important. What do you tell individuals who may be going through a hard time? They may not necessarily be at the hospital, but certainly are feeling the depression, if you will, of the holidays.
Yeah, the holidays can be really rough for people, especially since many of our holidays tend to push the pressure on people to be joyous. I like joy, but sometimes joy can feel a little false when a family member has just been in a car accident or come down with a difficult diagnosis. I know for me, as primarily a religious person, I've found that my own faith really talks about joy in a much deeper sense than superficial joy. But not everyone's there in their faith journey. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
But it does to me because I'm a religious nerd. So I find that this is something that maybe makes a little bit more sense for people and people of many different faiths. I think it's really important for all of us, particularly when we're meeting people in the hospital system, for us to meet our patients or our family members who are hospitalized right where they are in the moment. And especially at this time of year, I think we need to remember that all of the faiths who are practicing holiday traditions, well, all of our holidays this season are really about noticing. The Christian holidays are about noticing a beautiful reminder of God's presence in a tiny little baby. And the Jewish holiday is about the miracle of oil being provided in a lamp. Not a big splashy holiday, but a little tiny thing that made all the difference. And then there is a pagan festival that some people celebrate too, which is about the seasons changing. You really have to stand in the dark to notice that one, but it's a good thing. So I guess what I'm saying is, if we take that concept of noticing, that is the key of these three major holidays, and take that noticing to the bedside, then we'll notice our loved one's depression and difficulties and be able to be there with him or her. And that noticing will help us connect with them, and the connection will help them find joy and love.
And it's important that we notice, not just our needs, but those of the others.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing this with our audience, and
Thank
wish
you.
you a happy holiday.
Happy holidays as well.
Thank you for joining us at home once again here on Latino Motion.
Choose to get your feet wet, to learn more about protecting our environment.
Choose to read minds, to understand the human brain.
Choose to get your hands dirty, to create a masterpiece.
Stockton University offers 50 high-quality academic programs, small class sizes, and affordable tuition. Choose to match your interests and talents at one of New Jersey's nationally ranked universities.
Funding for Latino Motion is provided by AtlantiCare, a member of Geisinger; Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world; and South Jersey Gas.